The weight of unsent calls. My mother's hands were cracked and bleeding again. I was 12, sitting at our tiny kitchen table doing homework, when she came home from her third shift. She worked as a social worker during the day, cleaned offices at night, and picked up weekend shifts at a department store when she could. She never complained, just ran her ruined hands under cold water and asked about my day. That night, I watched her pull out her work clothes for Monday, a blazer with a stain she'd tried to hide with a brooch, slacks that were slightly too short because she'd bought them from the clearance rack in the wrong size. She caught me watching. I have a meeting with the county supervisor tomorrow. Need to look professional. You always look professional, Mom. She smiled, but I saw the way she looked at herself in the mirror. The shame in her eyes. Someday, she said quietly, things will be different. You'll have choices I never had. I promised myself that night I would build something that made sure women like my mother never had to feel that shame again. 15 years later, I'm still keeping that promise, even if it means risking everything. The coffee shop window reflected my own tired face back at me, dark circles under my eyes from pulling an all-nighter on my thesis, hair in a messy bun because I hadn't had time to shower. I was $3 away from overdrawing my checking account, which is why I was nursing a small iced coffee from the gas station instead of buying one from the upscale place across the street. My laptop was open to job applications. 7 companies, all rejections. The economy was tight, and everyone wanted 3-5 years experience for entry-level positions. That's when I saw her through the window. Savannah, my roommate, my best friend, the person who'd split her last dollar with me more times than I could count, sitting across from a man in an expensive suit. He slid something across the table. A card. Black, with that telltale weight of a premium credit card. Savannah took it. Her face crumpled, and even from across the street, I could see she was upset. My protective instincts fired immediately. I'd read enough articles, knew enough stories. Older men with money who preyed on struggling young women, offering help that came with strings attached. Not on my watch. I grabbed my laptop, shoved it in my bag, and marched across the street. The cafe was all polished chrome and marble, with a coffee menu that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I felt immediately out of place in my thrifted jeans and faded university sweatshirt. But I didn't care. I walked straight to Savannah's table and put my hand on her shoulder. Sav, we need to go. Now. She jumped, startled. Quinn. What are you? I'm sorry to interrupt, I said. Not sorry at all, turning to face the man. But my friend isn't interested in whatever you're offering. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Is less than #0. 6# is greater than mid-30s, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair that was perfectly styled. His suit probably cost more than my tuition. He had the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers or wanted posters. His expression was unreadable. Amused? Annoyed? I couldn't tell. I see, he said, his voice smooth and deep. And you are? Someone who recognizes a bad situation when she sees one. I kept my voice steady even though my heart was pounding. Look, I don't know what kind of arrangement you're proposing, but Savannah has people who care about her. She doesn't need your money or your oh my god, Savannah breathed. Quinn, stop talking. Sav, you don't have to protect him. He's my uncle. The world seemed to tilt sideways. I looked at the man again. Really looked. Same dark eyes as Savannah. Same stubborn set to the jaw. Oh no. Your uncle. Yes. Savannah's face was bright red. Uncle Sterling, this is Quinn Hartley, my roommate. Quinn, this is Sterling Ashworth, my mother's younger brother, who came here to give me the monthly allowance for my nonprofit. I wanted the marble floor to open up and swallow me whole. Sterling Ashworth leaned back in his chair, and now I could definitely identify his expression amused. "Please," he said, gesturing to the empty chair. "Join us." "I should go." "No, I insist." There was steel under the politeness. "You made quite an entrance. The least you can do is stay for the explanation." I sat, feeling like I was about to be executed. Savannah covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry. Quinn's very protective." I noticed. Sterling's attention fixed on me, and it felt like being pinned under a microscope. "Miss Hartley, was it?" "Yes. And I apologize for the misunderstanding. You thought I was exploiting a young woman with financial leverage." His tone was neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "In a different context, your instinct would have been exactly right. That kind of coercion happens more than people acknowledge." I blinked, surprised. "You're not angry?" "Why would I be angry?" "You saw a situation that looked problematic and intervened. Even though I clearly had social and economic advantages, you didn't." He tilted his head slightly. "That takes either courage or recklessness." I'm curious which one it was. "Both," I admitted. "Probably more recklessness." A slight smile. "Honest, too." "Interesting." Savannah looked between us, her mortification slowly shifting to something else. "Speculation, maybe." "Uncle Sterling, Quinn is the one I told you about. The business thesis on sustainable fashion?" My stomach dropped. Savannah had mentioned my thesis to her uncle. Ah, yes. Sterling's gaze sharpened. Circular economy principles applied to professional wardrobes, addressing both environmental sustainability and economic accessibility. You know about my thesis?" Savannah mentioned it. "The concept is intriguing. Most sustainable fashion startups focus on luxury consumers, but you're targeting a different market segment entirely." He paused. "Tell me, Miss Hartley, why professional wardrobes specifically?" I hesitated. This was personal, and I didn't know this man. But something in his expression suggested he actually wanted to know. My mother worked 3 jobs and still couldn't afford professional clothes that didn't fall apart. She'd buy cheap department store stuff on clearance because that's all she could afford, and it would last maybe 6 months before it needed replacing. I met his eyes. Meanwhile, those clothes ended up in landfills. The manufacturing exploited workers overseas, and my mom felt ashamed of her appearance despite working harder than almost anyone I knew. The system is broken in multiple ways, and I think we can fix several problems at once. Sterling was quiet for a moment, studying me. "Savannah," he said, still looking at me, "I need to take a call. Give me 5 minutes." He stood and moved to the far corner of the caf, phone to his ear. I turned to Savannah. "I'm so sorry. Are you kidding?" That was amazing. She was practically bouncing. Uncle Sterling never asks people about their ideas unless he's genuinely interested. He was probably being polite. You don't know him. He doesn't do polite for the sake of it. Quinn, he's Sterling Ashworth. He founded Ashworth Ventures. He's funded like 50 startups, and half of them are now worth hundreds of millions. I vaguely recognized the name from business journals I'd skimmed. That's impressive. He's also incredibly picky about who he works with. The fact that he asked about your thesis, instead of just humoring me, means something. Before I could respond, Sterling returned. He placed a business card on the table in front of me. Heavy cardstock, minimalist design. Sterling Ashworth, founder managing partner, Ashworth Ventures. Miss Hartley. I run an emerging talent fellowship for recent graduates. 10 positions per year, fully paid, working directly with our investment team. We provide mentorship, strategic guidance, and potential seed funding for viable business concepts. He tapped the card. Application deadline is Friday. I suggest you apply. I stared at the card. But I just accused you of being a predator. And you were willing to intervene in a situation where you were clearly outmatched because you thought someone needed help. That kind of judgment and courage is exactly what I look for in founders. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. The fellowship is competitive. You'll need to submit your business plan and go through multiple interview rounds. Whether you're accepted depends entirely on the quality of your application. He turned to Savannah. The nonprofit paperwork is filed. Check your email for the details. Thanks, Uncle Sterling. He nodded to us both and left, moving through the caf with the easy confidence of someone who owned every room he entered. I looked at the business card in my hand, then at Savannah. Did that actually just happen? Yep. She grinned. Welcome to my world. Now let's get you home so you can start on that application. You have exactly. She checked her phone, 73 hours. That's not much time. Then we better get started. She grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the caf, already talking a mile a minute about everything I'd need to include in the application. I clutched the business card and let myself feel a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days. Our apartment was a disaster zone of coffee cups, printed research papers, and increasingly desperate Post-it notes covering every surface. No, no, no. Savannah crossed out an entire paragraph on my draft. You're being too modest here. Could potentially reduce textile waste? Quinn, your model could divert millions of pounds from landfills annually. Own that. But I don't have data to prove. Then estimate conservatively and show your methodology. Investors don't want uncertain founders. They want people who believe in their vision enough to make bold claims backed by solid reasoning. I rewrote the paragraph for the 15th time while Savannah ordered us Thai food we couldn't afford. How do you know all this? I asked around a mouthful of pad thai. Uncle Sterling's been drilling business principles into me since I was 16. Also, I've been working on my nonprofit pitch for 2 years. She pulled up a document on her laptop. Here, use my financial model template. Just adapt it for your revenue structure. At 2 a.m. Thursday night, technically Friday morning, I was still perfecting my market analysis when Savannah emerged from her bedroom in her pajamas. You're going to make yourself sick. I'm almost done, Quinn. She took my laptop. You've revised this 17 times. It's good. Actually, it's better than good. It's the best business plan I've ever seen you write, and I've proofread 3 of your class papers. But what if it's not good enough? Then you'll apply again next year with more experience. But I think you're ready now. She saved my document and closed the laptop. Get 4 hours of sleep. Submit it in the morning with fresh eyes. Trust me. I did trust her. So I went to bed. 4 hours later, I read through the application one final time, made 2 tiny edits, and hit submit at 9:43 a.m. 47 minutes before the deadline. Then I collapsed on the couch and slept for 14 hours straight. The interview invitation came at 6 a.m. on Monday. My phone buzzed, and I grabbed it groggily, expecting spam. From Jennifer Kim, Director of Talent Development, Ashworth Ventures Miss. Hartley, thank you for your application to the Ashworth Ventures Emerging Talent Fellowship. We're impressed with your proposal and would like to invite you to interview. Your interview is scheduled for today at 2 p.m. Please arrive 15 minutes early. Business attire required. The interview will consist of 2 rounds, a panel interview with 3 of our senior partners, followed by a meeting with Mr. Ashworth if you advance. I sat up so fast I got dizzy. Today. The interview was today. I looked at the clock 607 a.m. Less than 8 hours. Savannah. She stumbled out of her room, half asleep. What? Fire? Burglary? Someone better be dying interview. Today, 2 p.m. Her eyes went wide. Then she grabbed my shoulders. Okay. Don't panic. We have time. Shower first, then we'll figure out what you're wearing. I don't have anything appropriate to wear. Everything I own is from thrift stores or that one clearance sale at Target. You're wearing my clothes. Non-negotiable. She was already pulling things from her closet. Theory blazer, Everlane pants, these loafers. Classic, professional, and they'll fit you perfectly. Sav, I can't. Yes, you can. This is literally what your business is about, making professional clothes accessible. Consider this market research. She thrust the clothes at me. Now shower. We're doing your hair properly, and I'm teaching you how to do a power pose. A what? Just trust me. 3 hours later, I stood in front of our full-length mirror and barely recognized myself. The blazer fit perfectly, structured but not stiff. The pants were the exact right length, no awkward flooding at the ankles. The loafers were comfortable and polished. Savannah had styled my hair into a sleek, low bun and showed me how to do minimal but effective makeup. I looked professional, competent, like someone who belonged in a venture capital firm. You look like a CEO, Savannah said quietly. I look like an imposter. Same thing, according to every successful woman I've ever met. She hugged me. You've got this. Just remember, you belong in that room. Your ideas are valuable. And if they don't see that, it's their loss. I nodded, not quite believing her, but grateful for the confidence. At 1:30 p.m., I stood outside the gleaming high-rise that housed Ashworth Ventures, trying not to throw up from nerves. The building was all glass and steel, reflecting the city skyline. Through the windows, I could see young professionals moving with purpose, tablets in hand. This was a different world from the one I'd grown up in. From the one my mother still lived in. But maybe I could bridge those worlds. I walked inside. Continuing with the interview scenes as before, but now I'll add the enhanced sections. 3 months into the fellowship, I got an unexpected call. Quinn? It's Patricia Chen from Meridian Health. Patricia, hi. Is everything okay? More than okay. I'm calling because we just got acquisition interest from a major healthcare company. They're offering $80 million. She paused. But I'm not sure I want to sell. I wanted to get your thoughts before the board meeting. My heart raced. This was the first time a founder had come to me, not Sterling, not the other partners, but me for strategic advice on something this significant. Can you send me the term sheet? And your concerns? Already in your inbox. I spent the next 4 hours analyzing the offer. The valuation was fair, perhaps even generous. But the acquirer wanted to gut Patricia's mission-driven initiatives to maximize profitability. Everything she'd built Meridian to be would disappear. At 7 p.m., I called her back. The numbers are good, I said. But this isn't about numbers, is it? No. Her voice was heavy. I built this company to actually help people access mental health care, not to maximize shareholder returns. Then don't sell. You're growing 40 year over year with strong unit economics. You don't need an exit right now. In 3 years, you'll have offers from acquirers who actually share your values, or you'll have built something valuable enough that you can dictate terms. Silence. Sterling said you'd tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear, Patricia said finally. This is why I called you instead of him. What do you want to do? I want to keep building. But I'm afraid of making the wrong choice. The wrong choice is betraying why you started this in the first place. Everything else is just risk. The board meeting was the next day. Patricia declined the offer. Sterling pulled me aside afterward. Patricia told me you advised her to turn down $80 million. My stomach dropped. Had I overstepped? I know it was a lot of money, but their terms would have destroyed everything she built. I know. I read the sheet. He studied me. You gave her permission to choose mission over money. That took courage. A lot of investors would have pushed for the exit and the guaranteed return. But it was the wrong exit. Exactly. Something that might have been pride flickered across his face. You're thinking like a real investor now. Not just about returns, but about building something that matters. 3 years later, Meridian would be acquired for $240 million by a company that preserved Patricia's mission. She'd call to thank me, saying that conversation had changed the trajectory of her life. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that Sterling was looking at me like I'd finally understood something important. And maybe I had? Previous Boston content continues. Then we add this crucial new scene. The morning after Sterling and I first kissed, reality crashed back in before the coffee had even finished brewing. My phone buzzed. An email from Alexandra Chen, one of the senior partners. Quinn, I need to discuss something with you. Can you stop by my office before the conference sessions start? 8 a.m. Alexandra, my stomach dropped. What's wrong? Sterling emerged from his bedroom, hair damp from the shower. Alexandra wants to see me. At 8 a.m. That's never good. He read the email over my shoulder, his expression carefully neutral. She probably just wants to discuss your progress. On a Saturday? At a conference? Go. See what she wants. It might be nothing. But we both knew it wasn't nothing. Alexandra's hotel room was a suite similar to ours, professional, impersonal, expensive. She gestured for me to sit, her expression unreadable. Coffee? No, thank you. She poured herself a cup, taking her time. The silence stretched. I'm going to be direct, she finally said. Are you and Sterling involved? My heart stopped. Before you answer, know that I'm asking as someone who wants you to succeed, not as someone looking to cause problems. She sat across from me. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've seen how Sterling looks at you. And I saw you two on the terrace last night. Oh God. We didn't. Nothing happened, Quinn. Her voice was gentle but firm. I'm not judging you. But I need you to understand the position you're in. I forced myself to meet her eyes. We care about each other. But nothing's happened that would compromise my fellowship or any business decisions. Yet. But it will. She leaned forward. Here's what you need to know. Sterling is a good man and a brilliant investor. But he's also someone with enormous power over your career. If you two become involved, people will assume you slept your way to success. They'll question every achievement, every investment decision, every opportunity you receive. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's reality. She paused. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what the cost will be. You need to decide if you're willing to pay it. What would you do? Alexandra was quiet for a long moment. I'd ask myself, can I succeed without him? Because if you can't prove that conclusively, you'll always wonder if you earned it. I skipped the morning sessions and walked along the harbor, thinking, Alexandra was right. Everything I'd worked for could be undermined by whispers about how I got here. But she was also wrong about something I could succeed without Sterling. I had succeeded without him. The analysis that got me the fellowship, the work I'd done, the relationships I'd built, those were mine. The question wasn't whether I could succeed without him. It was whether I wanted to. When I got back to the hotel, Sterling was waiting in the lobby. Alexandra told me she talked to you. You knew she was going to? I suspected. She's protective of the fellows. He studied my face. What did she say? That getting involved with you would cost me my credibility. That people would always question whether I earned my success. She's right. I know. I took a breath. But here's the thing, I'm going to prove I earned this with or without you. My work speaks for itself. And if people want to diminish that because of who I'm dating, that says more about them than me. Quinn, I'm not done. I need you to understand something. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. But I'm also choosing me. I met his eyes. I'm going to build my company and prove it's successful on its own merit. And then, when no one can question whether I earned it, we can be together openly. But until then, we keep this private. That could take months. Maybe a year. I know. And you're willing to wait? I'm not waiting. I'm building. I smiled. But yeah, you're worth waiting for. He pulled me into his arms, right there in the hotel lobby, and held me tight. When did you get so wise? He murmured. I have a good mentor. The ethics review wasn't just invasive, it was surgical. The investigators didn't just interview me 3 times. They interviewed everyone I'd ever worked with at Ashworth Ventures. They pulled email records, calendar invitations, expense reports. They analyzed every piece of feedback Sterling had given me and compared it to feedback given to other fellows. The 3rd interview was the worst. Miss Hartley, our records show that Mr. Ashworth drove you home from the office on 17 occasions. I knew where this was going. He drove several fellows home when they worked late. It was never just me. The investigator, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharper suit, pulled up a document. Actually, our interviews reveal he drove you home significantly more often than others. Can you explain why? I worked late more often. Or he wanted to spend time with you. Both can be true. I worked late because I was thorough. He drove me home because it was late, and he's fundamentally decent. She made a note. Let's talk about the Boston conference. My hands were sweating. What about it? You and Mr. Ashworth shared a suite. The hotel was overbooked. We had separate bedrooms. But you spent significant time together outside of conference hours. We worked on my friend's nonprofit accounting issue. At 11 p.m. is less than #0. 6# is greater than. For 2 hours? She leaned forward. Miss Hartley, I'm going to ask you directly. Did you and Mr. Ashworth become romantically involved during that trip? This was it. The moment where I could lie and maybe make this easier, or tell the truth and face the consequences. Yes, I said. We kissed. Once? On the 2nd night, she didn't look surprised. And did this relationship influence any business decisions? No. The investment committee meeting for my company happened 3 weeks after Boston. Sterling recused himself from the final vote. But he was in the room for the discussion. He advocated for your company. He advocated based on the business plan, which 3 other partners also reviewed and approved. Partners who respect his opinion and might have been swayed by his enthusiasm. Or partners who looked at the numbers and saw a viable business. I was getting angry now. I know what you're implying. That I used my relationship with Sterling to get funding. But here's what actually happened. I worked my ass off. I built a strong business plan. I proved my model was viable. And yes, Sterling believed in me both personally and professionally. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. Even when one clearly influenced the other? Did it? Or did the same qualities that made me good at my job also make me someone he wanted to be with? I leaned forward. I'm smart. I'm driven. I see problems and solve them. Sterling values those things professionally and personally. That's not a conflict, that's consistency. The investigator was quiet for a long moment. That's an interesting argument, miss. Hartley. It's the truth. That night, I called my mom. Honey, you sound exhausted. I am. I told her everything, the investigation, the questions, the doubt. Do you think you earned it? She asked quietly. Yes. But I can't prove it conclusively. There's always going to be that question mark. Quinn, listen to me. When I worked with the county supervisor, the one I wore that awful blazer for, she told me something I never forgot. She said, people will always find reasons to doubt women who succeed. Your job isn't to prove them wrong. It's to succeed so thoroughly that their doubt becomes irrelevant. That's a high bar. You've been clearing high bars your whole life. This is just one more. After we hung up, I thought about that. My mom was right. I couldn't control what people thought. I could only control what I built. And I was going to build something undeniable. The story continues with the separation period, but now we add this crucial scene. Month 2 of the separation was somehow worse than month 1. Revive had just signed its 2,000th subscriber, a milestone that should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. I was in the warehouse, inspecting a new shipment of blazers, when Rachel found me. You're doing it again. Doing what? Checking blazers we've already quality controlled 3 times. She took the hanger from my hands. Quinn, what's going on? Nothing. I'm just being thorough. You're avoiding going home because Sterling isn't there. She sat on a shipping crate. Look, I know you're trying to prove this company can succeed without him. But you're not proving anything by working yourself to death. I'm fine. You're not. You've lost weight. You look exhausted. And yesterday you snapped at Keisha for a mistake that wasn't even a big deal. Rachel's expression softened. I get it. You're scared that if you're not perfect, people will say you didn't earn this. But perfection isn't the goal. Sustainability is. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. Build a company and have a life. My mom never got to have both. Your mom had different circumstances. You have a co-founder who can share the load. You have employees you trust. You have systems in place. She paused. And you have someone who loves you. But if you keep pushing him away to prove a point, you're going to wake up one day and realize you've proven yourself right into being alone. He's the one who wanted to pause. To protect you is less than #0. 6# is greater than, and you agreed because you needed to prove this company could stand on its own. Well, it can. We hit 2,000 subscribers today. We're profitable. We have a wait list. She stood. At some point, you have to stop proving and start living. That night, I almost called Sterling. My finger hovered over his contact for 5 full minutes. Instead, I called Savannah. I miss him, I said without preamble. I know, babe. But I can't call him. Not yet. Not until you've suffered enough to feel like you earned it. Savannah's voice was gentle. Quinn, you're punishing yourself for wanting something. That's not noble. It's just sad. What if people are right? What if I didn't really earn stop? Just stop. She took a breath. You want to know what Uncle Sterling told my mom last week? He said working with you was like watching someone discover they had wings and then being privileged enough to see them learn to fly. Those were his exact words. My eyes stung. He said that? He did. And then he said, I just hope she lets me be there when she soars, because I'd hate to miss it. Savannah paused. He's not trying to take credit for your success, Quinn. He just wants to witness it. There's a difference. After we hung up, I sat in the dark and let myself feel everything I'd been pushing down. I missed Sterling. But more than that, I missed the person I was becoming when I let him in, someone who could be ambitious and vulnerable, driven and soft, successful and in love. I'd been so focused on proving I didn't need him that I'd forgotten the more important truth. I didn't need him to succeed, but I wanted him there when I did. Those were two very different things. The review results come through as before, but now we add this scene. After Sterling and I reunited in his office, after the relief and the kissing and the declarations of love, reality set in. "We need to tell the board," I said. "All of them. Before we go public." "Agreed. I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow." "No." I squeezed his hand. "We do it together. As partners. Not you protecting me or managing the message. We tell them together, honestly." The next day, we sat across from Alexandra, Diane, Marcus, and 2 other board members. I'd prepared notes but found I didn't need them. "Thank you for meeting with us," I began. "Sterling and I wanted to be transparent about something that affects our professional relationship. We're romantically involved, and we plan to be together publicly." Diane raised an eyebrow. "How long?" "We started seeing each other 5 months ago," Sterling said. "Before the investment decision for Revive. I recused myself from the final vote, specifically to avoid any appearance of impropriety." "But you advocated for the investment," Marcus noted. "I did. Based on the business merits, which I'd be happy to walk through again." "Actually," I interrupted, "I'd like to address something. I know there are questions about whether my relationship with Sterling influenced the investment. I've spent the past 4 months trying to prove it didn't. But here's what I've realized: I'll never be able to prove a negative. There will always be people who assume I slept my way to success." Alexandra leaned forward, interested. "So instead of trying to prove what didn't happen, I want to focus on what did. I built a business that's succeeding. We have 8,300 subscribers, 84 retention, and we're profitable. Those are facts. Sterling and I being together is also a fact. People can draw whatever conclusions they want, but the work speaks for itself." "That's a mature perspective," Diane said. "But what about going forward? How do you plan to manage the conflict of interest?" "Sterling stepped back from day-to-day involvement months ago," I said. "Jennifer Kim is our primary contact. For board meetings, we'll have clear protocols Sterling can attend but won't vote on matters directly affecting Revive's financing or my compensation. All decisions will require unanimous approval from the other board members. We've also discussed bringing in an additional independent board member," Sterling added. "Someone with no connection to either Ashworth Ventures or me personally, to provide another level of oversight." The board members exchanged glances. "I appreciate your transparency," Alexandra said, "and your thoughtfulness about managing the relationship going forward. But I have one question for you, Quinn. Do you think Sterling's investment in Revive was sound?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because the fundamentals are strong. We're solving a real problem with a scalable model. Even without Sterling's involvement, Revive would be viable. It might have taken longer to find funding, but the business would still work." "And what if it doesn't?" Marcus asked. "What if Revive fails? How does that affect your relationship?" I looked at Sterling, then back at Marcus. "If Revive fails, it'll be because I made poor business decisions, not because Sterling and I are together. We're both adults who understand that business and personal relationships require different things. I'm not naive enough to think we can keep them perfectly separate, but I'm confident enough in both to believe we can navigate the complexity." Silence. Then Alexandra smiled. "Okay. You've convinced me. But telling the board was only the first step." 2 weeks later, a reporter from TechCrunch called. "Miss Hartley, I'm working on a story about relationships between investors and founders. Multiple sources have confirmed you're dating Sterling Ashworth. Would you care to comment?" My heart raced. This was it, the moment where our private relationship became public scrutiny. "Yes, I'll comment," I said. Sterling and I are in a relationship. We're also business partners. Both of those things are true, and neither diminishes the other. Some people might say there is an inherent conflict. Some people will always find reasons to question women's success. I can't control that. What I can control is building a company that's undeniably successful, being transparent about potential conflicts, and establishing clear boundaries to manage them. Do you think you would have received funding without the relationship? Yes. My business model is strong, my team is excellent, and our results speak for themselves. Sterling saw that potential both as an investor and as someone who cares about me. I'm not ashamed of either fact. The article ran 3 days later. Revive CEO Quinn Hartley on building a business, navigating VC relationships, and why she's done apologizing. The piece was fair more than fair. The reporter had interviewed other female founders about the impossible double standards, spoken to venture capitalists about how common investor-founder relationships were, though rarely disclosed, and examined Revive's metrics thoroughly. The conclusion: whether or not Hartley's relationship with Ashworth influenced the initial investment may never be definitively answered. But what's unambiguous is that Revive is succeeding on its own merits. With strong unit economics, impressive retention rates, and genuine social impact, the company would be fundable by any reasonable investment standard. The question isn't whether Hartley earned her success, it's why we're still asking. The comments section was predictably mixed. Of course she got funded. She's sleeping with the investor. Tale as old as time. But also, I'm a female founder who's faced the same accusations. Thank you for being honest about the relationship and still owning your success. We need more of this. And the real story here is that she built a profitable company in 18 months. That's impressive, regardless of who she's dating. Sterling found me reading comments at midnight, laptop balanced on my knees. You should stop reading those. I know. I can't help it. I closed the laptop. Do you regret it? Going public? No. He sat beside me. I regret that you have to deal with this scrutiny. But I don't regret being with you, and I don't regret people knowing. Some of them think I'm a gold digger. Some of them are idiots. He took my hand. The people who matter know the truth. Your team knows. Your customers know. Your mom knows. What about your reputation? You're the one who funded the founder you're sleeping with. That reflects on Ashworth Ventures. The firm's reputation is built on successful investments. Revive is a successful investment. Everything else is noise. He pulled me closer. Besides, the other partners did their own analysis. They agreed to fund you independent of my recommendation. The review confirmed that. We're clean. Are we though is less than #0. 6# is greater than. There's always going to be questions. Let them question. We'll answer with results. Results came faster than expected. 3 months after going public about our relationship, Revive hit 15,000 subscribers. 6 months later, 28,000 subscribers and our Series A funding round. Impact Capital Partners led the round, a firm that had no connection to Sterling or Ashworth Ventures. During due diligence, their senior partner told me something that stuck with me. We did extensive reference checks, she said. Talk to your competitors, your suppliers, your customers. You want to know what we learned? I braced myself. What? That you built something real. Several people mentioned your relationship with Ashworth, but when we asked if it affected the business, they all said the same thing. She'd be succeeding regardless. Maybe even more, actually, because she works twice as hard to prove she earned it. That night, I called my mom. They funded us, I said. $12 million. Series A. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm so proud of you, honey. I couldn't have done it without. Yes, you could have. You would have found another way. That's who you are. She paused. But I'm glad you didn't have to do it alone. Your Sterling sounds like a good man. He is. Then hold on to him. Success means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. 6 months after the Series A, the crisis came on a Tuesday. One of our major dry cleaning partners responsible for processing 30 of our inventory had a facility fire. No one was hurt, but thousands of garments were destroyed. We had to notify subscribers that their clothing was gone and figure out how to replace everything while maintaining operations. Rachel and I spent 18 hours straight, problem-solving, calling backup vendors, negotiating emergency contracts, communicating with affected customers, arranging refunds and credits. At 2 a.m., I was in the warehouse doing inventory when Sterling showed up with coffee and sandwiches. How'd you know I was here? Savannah texted. Said you'd been here since yesterday morning. He set the food down. You should eat. I need to finish, Quinn. His voice was gentle but firm. You need to eat and sleep. You can't solve problems if you're running on fumes. We lost 30 of our processing capacity. Customers are freaking out. Our reputation will be fine. Because you're handling this well. He guided me to a chair. Eat. Then I'll drive you home. I can't leave, Rachel's got it. I saw her on my way in. She's competent and capable, and you hired her specifically so you wouldn't have to do everything yourself. I took a bite of sandwich, realizing I was starving. This is my company. My responsibility. It's also a company with employees and systems. Trust them. He sat beside me. You know what good leadership looks like? Knowing when to delegate and when to step back. Is this you telling me I'm bad at my job? This is me telling you that you've spent so long trying to prove you can do everything alone that you've forgotten you don't have to. I wanted to argue. But he was right. I'm scared, I admitted. What if we can't recover from this? What if customers lose faith? Then you'll rebuild. You've done it before. He squeezed my hand. But I don't think you'll need to. You've built something strong. One setback won't destroy it. He was right. Within 2 weeks, we'd secured new processing partners and replaced 90 of the lost inventory. Customer satisfaction actually went up because of how transparently and quickly we handled the crisis. A business journalist wrote, Revive's response to the fire demonstrates the kind of operational resilience that separates successful startups from failures. CEO Quinn Hartley didn't just solve the problem, she used it as an opportunity to improve systems and build customer trust. But the real lesson wasn't about crisis management. It was about partnership. That night, I'd needed Sterling not as my investor or mentor, but as my partner. Someone who could see me spiraling and help me step back. Someone who believed in me enough to tell me hard truths. I'd spent so long trying to prove I didn't need him that I'd almost missed the more important truth needing someone isn't weakness. It's being human. 1 year after going public with the relationship, I want to start something new, I told Rachel over lunch. New as in a mentorship program. For young women from working-class backgrounds who want to start businesses but don't have access to capital or network. I pulled out my notebook. I'm thinking we partner with community colleges and vocational programs. Provide business education, mentorship, and small grants. Call it the Hartley Initiative. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You want to name it after yourself? No. After my mom, Catherine Hartley. My voice caught slightly. She worked 3 jobs and never got to build the life she wanted. But she made sure I could. This is her legacy as much as mine. I love it. But you know, this will cost money, significant money. Have you talked to Sterling? Not yet. I want to figure out the model first. I paused. And I want to fund it myself. Well, myself and other successful founders who had help getting started. Pass forward what we received. Over the next 3 months, I developed the full program. Business boot camps. One-on-one mentorship. 10,000 grants for viable business concepts. And most importantly, a network of successful women willing to invest in the next generation. When I finally pitched it to Sterling, I was nervous despite myself. "This is ambitious," he said, reviewing my deck. "But the structure is solid. You've thought through the sustainability model, the impact metrics, the scalability. So you think it'll work?" "I think it's brilliant." He closed the laptop. "And I want to be your first donor. Ashworth Ventures will commit $500,000 over 5 years. Sterling, you don't have to. I want to. This matters." He pulled up something on his phone. "Also, I've been talking to some friends in the industry. We want to start a parallel program for investing in underrepresented founders. Would you be willing to help design it?" "You want me to help design a VC program?" "You understand both sides, what founders need and what investors look for. Plus, you've built something successful despite facing every disadvantage. That perspective is invaluable." I thought about it. About being 12 years old, watching my mom struggle. About being 24, terrified and hopeful as I walked into that first interview. About being 28, finally building something meaningful. "Yes," I said. "I'll help." The Catherine Hartley Initiative launched 6 months later. My mom flew out for the event. She stood in front of a room full of young women, janitors' daughters, single mothers, first-generation college students, and told her story. "I worked 3 jobs my whole life," she said. "I was good at my job. Great, but I never got promoted because I couldn't afford clothes that looked professional enough. Because I didn't have the right connections. Because I was too tired from working nights to network." She looked at me, eyes shining. My daughter saw that struggle and decided to do something about it. Not just for me, but for all of us. And now she's here to help you do the same. I spoke next, and for the first time, I didn't downplay my connection to Sterling. "I got incredibly lucky," I said. "I met someone who believed in my potential and had the resources to invest in it. But luck shouldn't be the determining factor in who gets to succeed. Talent, drive, and good ideas should be enough. This program exists to make sure they are." After the presentations, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 22, wearing a blazer that was slightly too big and pants that had been hemmed by hand. "Miss Hartley? I'm Maria Rodriguez. I'm studying business at the community college, and I have an idea for a meal prep service for low-income families." She thrust a folder at me. "I know it's rough, but I've been working on it for 2 years, and I think it could work, and I just..." "Breathe," I said gently. "I'll look at it. That's what we're here for." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." But I did know. I remembered being exactly where she was, desperate and hopeful, terrified of wanting something too much. "Maria," I said, "I want you to know something. You're not lucky to be here. You earned this. Whatever happens with your business, remember that you earned the chance." Sterling found me afterward, alone in the warehouse that now served as the initiative's headquarters. "That was incredible," he said. "Your mom was incredible. You were incredible. It's just the beginning. We have 20 women in the first cohort. By next year, I want to have 100. You'll do it." He pulled me close. "You always do." I rested my head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." That's what partners do. Is that what we are? Partners? among other things. He pulled back to look at me. Actually, speaking of partners, he pulled a small box from his pocket. My heart stopped. Quinn Hartley, I know you already proposed to me once. That was different. That was symbolic and romantic, and I loved it. But I'm traditional enough that I want to do this too. He opened the box, revealing a simple platinum band with a single diamond. You've taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That love doesn't make you less, it makes you more. His voice was thick with emotion. Will you marry me? I was already crying. Yes. Obviously, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, and I noticed something. Sterling. This is my grandmother's diamond. Your mom gave it to me last month. Said your grandmother would want you to have it. He smiled. She also said if I ever hurt you, she'd find a way to hurt me back, so no pressure. I laughed through tears. That sounds like her. So we're really doing this? Getting married? Building a life? All of it? All of it, I confirmed. The company, the initiative, the messy, complicated life. Everything. I love you. I love you too. We stood there in the warehouse surrounded by racks of professional clothing that would help women feel confident and capable, and I thought about how far we'd both come. Sterling had learned that success was about more than building an empire. That letting someone in didn't make him weak. I'd learned that accepting help wasn't the same as being helpless. That I could be ambitious and vulnerable, successful and in love. Together, we'd learned that the best partnerships aren't about needing each other. They're about choosing each other every day and building something better together than either could alone. Epilogue 3 years later, the Forbes headline read, Quinn Hartley, 31, the CEO who built an empire by rewriting the rules. I was reading it on my phone while simultaneously trying to prevent my 18-month-old goddaughter from eating her shoe, exactly as before. But this time, there was an addition to the article that made me pause. But perhaps Hartley's most significant contribution isn't Revive itself, it's the ecosystem she's building around it. The Catherine Hartley Initiative has now supported 300 women in launching businesses, with a collective valuation exceeding $50 million. Hartley's model of reciprocal mentorship, where successful founders directly invest in and mentor the next generation, is being replicated by accelerators nationwide. When asked about her relationship with investor Sterling Ashworth, Hartley is refreshingly direct. We're partners in every sense. He invested in my business. I invested in his humanity. We both got a good return. Sterling looked over my shoulder, smiling at that last quote. Did I really say that? I asked. You did. After 2 glasses of wine, which the journalist conveniently didn't mention. It's true, though. It is. He kissed the top of my head. Speaking of returns, he pulled up something on his tablet, our quarterly numbers for both Revive and the Initiative. Revive 127,000 subscribers, 42 MARR operations in 15 cities. The Initiative 47 businesses launched, average revenue of 300 kelvins in year 1, 89, still operating after 3 years. These are exceptional numbers, Sterling said. But you know what I'm most proud of? What? This. He pulled up an email from Maria Rodriguez, the young woman I'd met at the Initiative launch 3 years ago. Miss Hartley, I wanted you to know that Fresh Start Meal Prep just hit 2M in annual revenue. We're serving 5,000 families in underserved communities, providing healthy meals at prices they can afford. None of this would have happened without the Initiative. Not just the grant, the mentorship, the connections, the belief that someone like me could actually do this. I'm starting a mentorship program of my own now. Passing forward what you gave me. Thank you for seeing my potential when I couldn't see it myself. Maria, my eyes stung with tears. She did it. She did. Because you helped her believe she could. Sterling squeezed my hand. That's the real legacy, Quinn. Not the revenue numbers or the press. It's the lives you've changed. Later that evening, after we'd left Savannah's and were driving home, Sterling said something that surprised me. I've been thinking about my role at Ashworth Ventures. What about it? I want to step back more. Not retire, but transition to more of an advisory role. He glanced at me. I want time for other things. The initiative. Teaching. Family. Family? He pulled into our driveway and turned to face me. I want kids with you, Quinn. Actual kids, not just godchildren we babysit. My heart raced. We'd talked about this abstractly, but hearing him say it so directly was different. Are you sure? You've built your entire life around work, which is exactly why I'm sure. You've taught me there's more to life than building empires. I don't want to wake up at 50 and realize I was so busy investing in other people's futures that I forgot to build my own. He took my hand. I want to build a life with you. The full, messy, complicated version. Not just the parts that fit around work. I want that too, I whispered. But I'm scared. What if I'm not good at being a mom? What if I can't balance everything? Then we'll figure it out together. That's kind of our thing, remember? 3 months later, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, looking at the positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. We'd been trying for 3 months. I'd expected it to take longer. Sterling was downstairs making breakfast. I heard him singing to himself something he'd started doing since cutting back his hours. He was happy. Genuinely, profoundly happy. And so was I. I walked downstairs, test hidden behind my back. Hey, I said casually. Remember how you said you wanted to build a life with me? Every day. Good. Because we're going to need to start building a nursery. I showed him the test. For a moment, he just stared. Then his face broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen. He picked me up and spun me around, laughing. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. He set me down gently, his hands immediately going to my still flat stomach. I can't believe it. We're really doing this. All of it, I confirmed. The company, the initiative, the family, the whole messy, complicated life is less than #0. 6# is greater than I wouldn't want it any other way. 8 months later, labor was exactly as awful as everyone had warned me it would be. 23 hours of contractions, an epidural that only half worked, and a moment where I seriously considered divorcing Sterling just for getting me into this situation. But then they placed our daughter in my arms, and nothing else mattered. She was perfect. Tiny and red-faced and screaming, but perfect. She has your eyes, Sterling said, voice thick with emotion. She has your stubbornness. She's been refusing to come out for 3 days. He laughed and kissed my forehead. What should we name her? We discussed names endlessly, but never quite decided. Looking at her now, though, I knew. Catherine, I said. After my mom. Catherine Quinn Ashworth. Sterling's eyes filled with tears. It's perfect. My mom arrived an hour later. When she held her granddaughter for the first time, she cried. She's beautiful, honey. So beautiful. I couldn't have done any of this without you, Mom. The company, the initiative, Sterling, this baby, none of it would exist if you hadn't shown me what strength looks like. You did this, Quinn. All of it. I just loved you and believed in you. That's everything. 6 months later, being a working mother was harder than I'd imagined. The sleepless nights, the constant worry, the guilt about leaving Catherine with the nanny while I went to work, it was overwhelming. But I'd also never been happier. I'd learned to delegate at Revive. Rachel was COO in title and in practice. making most operational decisions without me. I'd brought in a president for the initiative, a former founder I'd mentored who'd successfully exited her company. I still worked just differently. More strategically, less frantically. I was home for dinner every night. Weekends were sacred family time. Sterling had transformed completely. He taught 2 classes at the business school, advised a handful of startups, and spent his afternoons with Catherine. He'd learned to change diapers, make bottles, and sing lullabies. He was a natural. One Saturday morning, I woke to find him gone from bed. I followed the sound of piano music downstairs. Sterling sat at the piano, Catherine in a carrier against his chest, playing something soft and beautiful. "What is that?" I whispered. He looked up, smiling. "Something I'm composing. For her. It's beautiful. Not as beautiful as watching you become a mother. You're amazing at this, Quinn. I'm terrified most of the time. So am I. But we're doing it together, and she's thriving. That's what matters." Catherine made a small sound, not quite crying, more like commenting, and we both laughed. "She's got opinions already," Sterling said. "She comes from a long line of opinionated women. She'll fit right in." Present day, Catherine's first birthday, our house was full of people. Savannah and Marcus with little Amelie. My mom, Sterling's sister and her husband. Rachel and her wife. Patricia from Meridian Health. Maria Rodriguez with her family. Jennifer Kim. Even Alexandra Chen. All the people who'd been part of our journey gathered to celebrate this next chapter. Sterling and I stood in the kitchen, watching everyone through the doorway. "Remember when we met?" I asked. "When I accused you of being a predator in that coffee shop? One of my finest moments. Mine too, actually. I was terrified, but I did it anyway. That's kind of been our whole relationship. Terrified, but doing it anyway? Choosing courage over comfort. Choosing growth over safety. Choosing each other over playing it safe." I leaned against him. "Best decision I ever made." "Second best," Sterling corrected. "The first was building Revive." "No," I said firmly. "Revive is important. The initiative is important. But this, us, Catherine, the life we've built, this is everything." He kissed me softly. "When did you get so wise?" "I have a good partner." In the living room, Catherine took her first wobbly steps toward my mom, who was kneeling with arms outstretched. Everyone cheered. Sterling squeezed my hand. "Look at what we built." I looked around the room at my daughter taking her first steps, at my mom's proud tears, at Savannah filming everything, at all these people who'd believed in me and pushed me and loved me. "Yeah," I said. "We built something pretty amazing. Not just a company, though Revive was changing lives. Not just an initiative, though that was creating opportunities. We'd built a life. A real, full, complicated, beautiful life. And I'd learned the most important lesson. Success isn't about choosing between ambition and love, career and family, independence and partnership. It's about having the courage to want all of it, and the humility to accept help building it." My mother taught me to dream big. Sterling taught me to let people in. Catherine was teaching me to be present. And together, we were all learning that the best things in life aren't built alone. They're built together, with love and patience, and the occasional spectacular mistake, until you look around one day and realize you've created something more valuable than any business metric could ever measure. You've created home. The end.